Big update in markets.
Big update in markets.
It's all about the Russell 2000 today. How's that?
Yeah.
There you go. And all about the banks, too. You look at Morgan Stanley and how it's really followed up with what the other big banks have reported. As everyone keeps telling us, the bar for earnings season is pretty low this time.
Yeah, pretty low this time here. But
do they set the bar, though? The companies set the bar.
The banks set the bar. That's
I don't know who
sure.
sets the bar, but wherever that bar is and whoever set it, it is low. But look, sometimes that doesn't matter. It was low the last earnings season. Everyone beat, or at least the folks that we wanted to beat, and investors seem to be pleased with that. I know it's still extremely early in this earnings season, but haven't you been encouraged so far?
I mean, you take a look at United, for example. What a day that United is
big
having.
Day for airlines. Katie
Yeah, of
Greifeld.
course. You think about Delta, though, last week. That was a little bit of a lemon.
Yeah, what's your favorite airline, Katie Greifeld?
No comment.
The one that gets you there on time. How about that?
All right, we're going to get back to Katie Greifeld in just a second here, but let's walk you through the closing bell numbers. Green across the screen, and this is actually a little bit of a flip-flop from what we saw earlier in the day when we saw the NASDAQ in the red and the S&P barely holding on to gains. But here we are right now with the Dow Jones Industrial Average closing back above 43,337, higher on the day, 0.8%. The S&P up 0.5%. The NASDAQ up 0.3%. But let's talk about the outperformers on the day. The S&P 400 mid-caps up 1%. Dow Transport's up 1.9%, and the Russell 2000 is going to close higher by 37 points, or 1.6%.
All right, taking a look at the S&P 500, you had 358 stocks move higher today. 144 stocks move lower. So gainers outpacing the decliners.
Yeah, but the decliners that are there are notable, right? You take a look at the IMAP and overwhelmingly green with 9 out of the 11 sectors posting gains. But communication services, one of the bigger sectors in the index, is down. You have names like Meta, for instance, lower. Consumer staples losing about 2/3%. Utilities, very defensive, but also an AI play, up 2% on the day. And financials, I mentioned Morgan Stanley gaining 1.2%. REITs higher by 1% as well.
All right, we have actually quite a few earnings coming here in the after-hours trade. The first one crossing the wire, and that is the railroad CSS. Revenue coming in at about $3.62 billion. The street was looking for 3.68, so a slight miss on revenue. Also a slight miss on the bottom line, EPS, 46 cents a share. The street was looking for 48 cents a share. Not seeing any guidance here just yet in the initial numbers, but you see the knee-jerk reaction, a slight move to the downside.
Yeah, I'm just looking through the press release right now, and of course they're talking about delivering growth in volume, operating income, and operating margin, but also talking about some of the challenges of late, including the recent hurricanes, which may have disrupted some service. But again, I don't see an outlook here in terms of what they're saying. Operating income, just a little more detail on the quarter that did end, was $1.35 billion. So remain consistent with what you're saying about the bottom line and the top line missing, because operating income trailing the average analyst estimate of $1.4 billion.
Okay, that conference call happening at 4:30 p.m. Wall Street time. We'll bring you updates from that as we get them, maybe get some guidance on that call. Meantime, a couple of the gainers as we continue to wait for other companies reporting after hours today. Morgan Stanley shares higher today by 6.5%, rising the most since news of that vaccine coming out in November of 2020. Revenue from the trading business rose 13%. Wealth unit also stood out, generated record revenue of $7.27 billion, higher than analysts' expectations, $64 billion in net new assets. Also, you guys talking about airlines. The airlines index posting the best day since October of 2022, up 6.5%. United Airlines helping to bring that higher by 12.44% today. United shares hitting the highest since February of 2020, going back pre-pandemic. The company forecasts an improved industry outlook now that carriers are cutting excess flights and suppressed profits over the summer. And how about a little nuclear energy, small modular reactors, NuScale. Stocks melting up today, higher by 40%. This after Ken Griffin and Amazon backed an investment in SMR, small nuclear reactors. They're among the backers in a $500 million investment in the company called X Energy. It's privately held, and they make advanced nuclear reactors. So optimism in the industry today. NuScale, a maker of those SMRs, up by more than 40% today, a record jump for the company.
All right, on the decliner front, starting with Novavax here, absolute wipeout. You can see shares finishing lower by more than 19%. This is after U.S. regulators placed a hold on the company's flu and COVID-19 combo vaccine because you had a study volunteer actually develop a serious nerve disorder, specifically motor neuropathy. They received the combo shot in January 2023 as part of its study taking place outside the U.S. Trial completed in July 2023. The patient reported this complication in September 2024.
That's just the Novavax thing? Because I just got one of those shots.
Yeah.
I don't know what brand it was.
I would maybe see a doctor about that one. Novavax, this is only its worst day since July, so it's been a rough ride for Novavax. Moving swiftly along here, though, also wanted to talk about Interactive Brokers. Of course, we were talking about this start to earnings season. It's been pretty okay so far if you're a big bank. If you're Interactive Broker, it's a little bit of a rough ride. Of course, the brokerage firm's third quarter adjusted earnings per share and total net interest income missed the consensus estimates, and you can see shares finishing lower to the tune of about 4%, worst day since August. And then I wanted to finish up with Applied Materials, of course. We had the ASML hiccup, if you want to call it, yesterday. Wipeout, I could use that word again. Applied Materials definitely fell in sympathy yesterday, but what was interesting was to see the follow through today. You can see shares finishing the day more than 3% lower.
All right, let's take a quick check on yields. Not a whole lot of action here on the day. We continue to remain in that holding pattern that we've seen for quite some time. Your 10-year yield right now closing out the day just above 4% here, down about 1 to 2 basis points, and that was a similar story across the rest of the curve. You see it there on your screen with the biggest moves coming on the longer end.
All right, let's take a look at Kinder Morgan, which is the pipeline company coming out with results. Distributable cash flow per share was 49 cents, missing the consensus estimate by a penny. In terms of the bottom line, adjustable EBITDA was $1.88 billion, also a miss there of $1.92 billion, which was the consensus estimate. So the stock down about 1% right now in after-hours trade.
Kinder Morgan in the press release calling out, with war continuing in Ukraine, conflict escalating in the Middle East, calling out geopolitics here, noting the centrality of energy security to national security has never been more clear. They say they're proud to be part of a sector that provides that energy security to our fellow citizens and increasingly allows allies to forego dependence on those who use energy as a geopolitical weapon. Look at that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I will note that these shares, you're seeing, a little bounce around after hours after these earnings. This stock is higher by about 48% on a total return basis through today's close. So the bar was pretty high for this company. Okay.
From pipelines to Fruit Loops, I guess we go.
Yeah, let's do it.
Did you guys see that there are protesters outside of Kellogg's? And they're making a demand here. They want to remove the artificial colors from Fruit Loops as well as other cereals here.
Okay.
And it's happened in other countries. For example, in Canada, they use concentrated carrot juice, watermelon juice, and blueberry juice to color some of these cereals. This is according to the Associated Press. But here in the U.S., we still have artificial colors and chemical preservatives. Apparently.
Well, of course.
Why, of course?
They're delicious, and they make great colors.
Well, I think the great colors are more.
The thing that confuses me about this story, I mean, if you are waking up in the morning and eating Fruit Loops to start your day, do you really care about that it has some artificial colors and flavorings in it?
You probably want more colors.
I mean, you've made a life choice at that point. I mean, you might as well just lean into it.
But you can get the color the way Canadians can get their color, just not with artificial colors and chemical preservatives. You can do it through fruit juices.
Exactly.
You remember a couple of years ago when those college kids did that whole study and they found out that all the different colors of Fruit Loops, that it's actually all the exact same flavor?
Oh, yes, I do remember that.
That was trick, so sorry. My
college
producer,
kids did that study?
I apologize to
It's
Fruit
the same
Loops.
with Skittles, though, right?
I don't know.
Jolly
I think
Ranchers,
it's
all of those things.
It has one flavor. It's called sugar.
Yeah, I want to see the parameters of that study and sort of the environment that study was done in on that college campus. Hey, that is going to do it for our cross-platform coverage of the closing bell here on Bloomberg TV, Radio, YouTube, Bloomberg Originals. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. Have a great rest of the day, guys.